Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday show. I'm your host, One Ton Hammer, and with me tonight in the show are my co-host, as always, Terry Dementa. Say hello.
Hello.
And Jen T. Maxey. Say hi.
Hello.
Usually I try to prep the show with news items and kind of get to the news item, but we were having a really good discussion before the show about gaming, and I wanted to ask people if they really watch gaming channels besides just on Twitter or just on YouTube. But before I get too much into that and pick up the conversation where we left off, I want to make sure I say hi to chat, because I keep screwing up doing that at the beginning of the show. So let's run down who we got out here. Mr. Yes, Jack from Clippers United is out there. OG Costin, Kiradam. I'm scrolling. Looks like everybody so far. And I wanted to say hi first because I keep forgetting you guys, and I don't want to, be the asshole. Am I the asshole? Has anybody ever watched that? Am I the asshole? Anyway, how you doing?
Speaking of chat, it is apparently disabled on the screen.
Oh, you're right. It is. I'll get to that in a second. The great thing about putting it back up on the screen is that it's easy to do, and it will automatically catch everything up that we're missing. So I'll go ahead and take care of that. But how you doing tonight, Terry?
Who did you?
Terry, you.
Okay, because a car drove past right as you said who you were talking to. I didn't know who you were.
It's been doing that a lot too tonight.
No, I'm fine. Not much to report. Twittering and YouTube.
And there's chat. Look at that. It's one of the easiest things to fix is chat. So
I'm sure it'll take a few seconds to show up on my screen, but
it should have popped up by now. How you doing, Jen?
I'm good. I am good. I had a nap. I have one more shift tomorrow, and then I'm off for a day, and I'll be very good.
And catch up on some sleep.
I had to. It's just like sometimes I do my shift and I'm fine, and other days I do my shift and I'm like, I just can't get enough sleep.
I'm gonna try to act as if I have enough energy, but I had 3 hours of sleep in the last 24, and then I just couldn't hang out long enough. I had to eat something before the show, so my stomach is digesting that, and it's really warm in the broadcast room, so I'm doing everything I can do to stay awake. You put those three together, it's like, oh, I just want to just curl up somewhere and just fall out. But speaking about gaming, as we were before we started the show, where are you? Where do you want to start? Like we said before the show, I personally can't handle Twitch. I don't like Twitch. I just don't like the interface, and I find it to be a subpar platform. Granted, everybody is there. It's kind of like Twitter in that respect, where the platform is awful, but that's where everyone's at. There's an old analogy back in the day about how Betamax was better than VHS, but everybody was on VHS, so that's why it won.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And it's the same thing with Twitter. That's where everyone's at, so that's why it is at least winning at the moment. And everybody is on Twitch to do their gaming stuff. But I always wanted to do gaming stuff. I specifically set up everything on my setup, my monitor, my computer, my video card, my internet connection. Everything is set up specifically to be able to do high-res, high-frame gaming on YouTube. And once I got it up and tested it and make sure it worked, I never did it.
To be honest, my biggest thing with Twitch and the people who move to Twitch is the same thing I've always had. Don't just move to the one platform. And that's, I think, the reason I didn't like Twitch in the first place is because they do cause problems for you if you stream on other platforms. They do. Mm-hmm. Twitch is kind of like that. That's why I was kind of hoping that DLive would go somewhere, and it didn't. Like, they sold out to the Chinese, and we were all kind of like, fuck you.
Well, yeah, that was a big thing with Matt and Blonde, too, is that people who donated to him through their service, they cut him off, and none of the money went back to the people. They just kept it.
Yep. Yep.
And now he can't open up the treasure chest anymore. It's all weird stuff's happening over there. That place is
Yeah,
going nowhere.
geez.
Yeah, it was such a shame because it was a nice alternative. Like it is a little bit similar to Twitch in the layout. So for some people, moving over was fairly easy. But like I said, if the platform isn't allowing you to stream to other platforms, that's where my first no with them was. Because YouTube has never had that issue. They don't really give a shit who you stream to, as long as when you're streaming to them, they're making money.
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing my part. If you are streaming on Twitch, I am not watching you.
Yeah.
Except for the sole exception of Moonshock. If he ever streams Super Seducer, I have promised him I'll watch, and I will keep that promise. Anyone else, if you're streaming on Twitch, I am not watching.
Sometime when we're not on the air, you're going to have to explain to me that whole Super Seducer thing. I know there's a whole backstory. It's not for now, but I'm interested in hearing it because that game, that particular game seems to come up over and over again. There's got to be something behind it, and you'll have to tell me when the show's over so that I can come up to speed with it. Because every time you talk about it, it makes me smile, but I don't really know what the joke is. So anyway.
Fair enough.
I also gotta say, some of the reason that everyone's over on Twitch when it comes to the game streams is legit because of YouTube. And it has to do with how YouTube treats streams. Like I don't know if you guys saw some of the shit and shenanigans that kind of went on with Ricada Law's streams, right? Especially when he was covering the Kyle Rittenhouse.
I don't watch Ricada.
Okay, so he was pulling in 75 to 80,000 people watching him, I would say, for the whole day.
Nice. Good numbers.
Yeah. And it was consistent the whole week that he was covering Kyle.
It's controversial. That's he's not getting those numbers now, but he was during the trial, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's still pretty high up there. I mean, he was already kind of growing for his own numbers anyway, because people who watch him generally do kind of find him funny. Yeah. But I mean, even afterwards, he's still pulling in about like 14,000 people watching him roughly. You know, when he builds up, he really builds up. And when he has the guest streams, it goes up higher. But yeah, it's stuff like that. Like you're never going to see those kind of views with a gamer who isn't like, say, PewDiePie. Because YouTube doesn't share it. YouTube doesn't care if you're playing a game. They like money, but they don't apparently like the game stream money, and I don't understand that with them. So a lot of people moved to Twitch because they were at least getting more views from people who were more interested in what they were watching, or at least it was easier to find.
Yeah.
I see it as a boon for the platform, because there are some big streamers on YouTube who game. It's just, if you don't watch them, you're never going to find them. That's how YouTube is. Yeah. That's how their algorithm is with everybody. If you don't watch them and you don't like check on them to see if they're doing stuff, good luck.
Well, that's why I periodically go through my entire subscription list, and like YouTube will put a black dot next to their name if they've got new videos since last time you checked. And I'll just go through every single one of them and decide if the new videos is stuff I want to watch.
Yeah. So my question to chat, we're going to get to Jack Murphy Keever. That's going to be near the end of the show. We'll be getting to that a little bit later. So my question to chat is, if somebody was on YouTube and also did gaming to YouTube, people in chat, would they watch that? Because like I said, I set up my entire system for doing that, and then I never did it. And I was thinking, well, maybe, I'm not into a lot of games. I'm only into a few games, but if somebody's interested in watching a game or throwing a game at me and say, here, play this, kind of deal, and I were to and do and you actually use my personal channel, the One Ton Hammer channel, for gaming or something like that, would anybody be interested in it? Because I'm certainly not going to do a face camera, but I could certainly bring a little bit of wit and wisdom to, and like I said, I enjoy games, but I'm no there's only a few games that I can play well. Definitely
Yeah.
HOTS. I've been playing HOTS long enough that, you know, most of the characters in the game I can play well. And there's a couple that I you know, I'm going to brag a little bit. I can play Vala and Sylvanas with anybody. I mean, I'm getting MVPs most of the time I'm playing against regular, ordinary humans out there. So,
if I had to pick a game, and I haven't played this game in probably years, but Desktop Dungeons, I did manage to finish it, which is not something many people are able to do because it does get very difficult towards the end. So, I mean, if I sort of got back into that, then maybe I'd be good enough at that to stream it. But there's people way better than me.
I like to get a crew together. I like to get a bunch of people together to play games online, but I have to find people that have the same philosophy as I do to play. I mean, it's like you discussed your philosophy before we started the stream. You're a gamer. You want to play the game and and excel at the game. That's your focus. And that's perfectly reasonable. When I'm playing alone, that's very much me. I'm exactly that same guy. But if I were to stream, I would have to not be that guy. I'd have to split my attention between the game and the people watching to keep them entertained, to keep them involved, and that kind of stuff. And that,
which is why I never got into game streaming, because I want to focus on the game.
It's hard to do. It's hard to split between the two of them. So, but I mean, I would like to, now that I have everything set up, I'd like to explore whether doing that would be fun or not. Even if I only do maybe 10 and realize, this is not for me, you know, kind of deal. But right now, the only thing I ever really play is HOTS. I don't think people, it's a fun game. It's a nice presentation. It's high res. It's nice and pretty, and it's got great audio, nice graphics, and all that kind of stuff. But it's an older game. So I don't know if people would be interested in watching that anyway. If you go out and look at Twitch, there's still people playing Twitch, but it's all PvP stuff. There's nothing against AI.
Well, my reason for not watching Heroes of the Storm would simply be it's a team game, and I don't like team games.
Yeah, that's true for you. And there's people.
I've said many times, is like, I think my performance should be the sole indicator of success. I don't want to be carried by a team or held back by a team, and that carries through in like my just taste in games in general. So watching a team game is just never going to be something I'm into.
Quipper, to answer Keywordam in chat, Quipper's was Jackbox stuff. So web-based kind of stuff. I was actually thinking about installed games like World of Warcraft, Heroes of the Storm, Phantasmaphoria, whatever it is, Phobia, whatever that is. You know, games that, you know.
Phasmophobia.
COD, you know, World of Warships, whatever. Those kind of installed games that are, you know, that kind of stuff is. I'm just throwing out names of games that I remember. You know, I'd be happy playing Zork. I don't care. You know.
See, I'm going to change the subject for funniness, but I learned something about Mario. I mean, I mentioned this last week, but I learned a little bit more about the mushrooms in his little game of his that he eats, and I knew they were psychedelics. I just didn't have the proof of it. But yeah, they're a little Swedish mushroom. Just so you know, the Vikings used to take that before they would go ape shit on people.
No, Jen, they're Japanese mushrooms. Someone actually found a picture of the Japanese mushroom that the ones in Mario are based on. They're not psychedelic. They're just mushrooms.
Oh, okay, because they have the exact same mushroom in Sweden.
Well, maybe it looks similar or something, but no, they actually had a picture of the Japanese mushroom. I don't know the name of it.
Was it a red cap with white dots on it?
Well, it looked very similar to the Mario mushroom. So.
Okay, because the one in Sweden also does. It could be a similar species because it's like one of like 20 different species. It's just out of all 20 of them, 2 of them are safe to eat. And the 2 of them, one of them was taken by Vikings before they would go apeshit on people.
Yeah, a bit. I think it's a bit of a stretch to think that Nintendo is using Swedish mushrooms as the inspiration for their...
Well, I don't know, man. I mean, he takes that mushroom and he grows bigger. And then he goes and he smashes everything.
But what would possess?
I mean, wouldn't it be
Japanese
amazing
company.
if Mario was just sending you back to Valhalla?
You know, a Japanese company is going to use Japanese mushrooms because that's what they think of when they think of mushrooms. Is that's what they have around.
Yeah. Kiverdam says, I know getting other people to play and keeping the audience entertained, that's definitely the same track as what Jack used to do. And that would be the idea. What I would like to do is find I'd like to get a team together. I would like to get 5 humans, including myself, initially to play HOTS along with me and work as a team, communicate as a team, and tackle the maps. And maybe if we got good enough at some point to actually go against and do PvP, that's what I would say would be my initial thing. But yeah, I don't really enjoy playing by myself. I'm just like the opposite of Terry, where he prefers to play by himself. I'm not. I really need to have a team where I don't enjoy myself as much. So, like, I play every day, but it's sometimes it gets to be a struggle. I only play a couple of games and I'll pick it up again tomorrow. That kind of thing. It looks like we have a spam bot. Kiever's pretty good.
Yeah.
Kiverdam's pretty good at catching those guys.
I just ignore it, but then Kiverdam mentioned it, and I should probably delete it.
Well,
go ahead and take care of them for me, Kiverdam, if you have a chance.
Well, that's kind of the.
You won't be able to.
She has mod now.
Okay.
So one of the things I do like about games like Ark or 7 Days is the fact that they do kind of offer you a mixture of both. Mm-hmm. Because the thing with both games is you don't actually have to hang out with your group of people if you don't want to. You can go off and make your own base. You can go off and do your own missions and then come back together to do missions together. Like both game types do offer that. It's just the problem is most people get sick of the grinding on it. Yeah.
I mean, that's what stopped me from playing WoW. I was playing with a guild, so I had guildies, but if we wanted to run a not a raid, but a dungeon, I was the tank for the guild. We had other people who were tanks, but I was the one with the most equipment and most experience, all that kind of stuff. So I ended up, whenever I got online, I immediately get spammed. Can we run some dungeons? Can we run some dungeons? Because if you were a tank, you would insta queue. As soon as you queued up, you would get into a dungeon right away because there weren't that many tanks. So
everybody wants to be DPS.
Everybody wants to be DPS, or maybe sometimes some healers too. But if you got a 5-person group together with a healer, a tank, and 3 DPS, it would queue up right away and you start playing right away. So as soon as I would join the get online to do some quests or something like that, or do some gathering or whatever I was trying to do, I would get on, and for the next 3 hours, it was dungeon. I was like, Jesus Christ, And I tried to encourage other people in the group to play tanks and all that kind of stuff, but no one could ever equip themselves or put the time in. No one wants to be a tank. I loved it. I loved it more than DPS. Although I had a very high-end hunter as well, so I knew how to play. But I had all 3, because once you become the central tank, they expect you to have central backup too. So if they have somebody who is a tank, well, we'll get hammered to do the healing then. Now we're ready to go, So it was always me being the primary person, even if I wasn't the tank, running every fucking time. And that wore me out with WoW. And now I want to get back into WoW to be that guy again. It wore me out, but now I want to do that again. I want to get into WoW and get into a guild and not even be primary tank, but be the tank who takes care of everybody. Get online and say, let's go, and let's run a bunch of dungeons and do that kind of stuff. I miss it. Not funny? It burned me out, but now I'm missing it.
No, I mean, that actually happens a lot. So you just needed time away from it because it was like too much. But now that you've got some distance, you sort of like you remember how good it was when you weren't burnt out. So
Yeah.
you want to
Yeah.
go back to it. Makes
It
sense.
was fun. It was nice to help people. That was really what the best part about it was just knowing that they're having a better day because I was able to do something for them, you know?
That's good.
It feels good. It feels good to do that. It's kind of selfish, but it's kind of not selfish too. So,
Well, I mean, I'm of the belief that all human behavior fundamentally is selfish. Like if you drill down deep enough, there's a self-centered, selfish motive behind everything.
yeah,
So
if you ever do anything good for someone else, it's going to make you feel good. So,
yeah,
whatever. But why don't we get into some news?
Yeah.
Let's get into some nudes. Send me your nudes. We have 3 things up. I do want to get to Jack Murphy. But
what
what
about Danny DeVito? Are we going to talk about him?
Yeah, we need to get about Danny DeVito too. That's not on the list. But Terry reminded me about that before the show because that
It's hilarious.
I've had a couple discussions about that. I talked to Monkey about it live, and I replied to him on Twitter, and he has a different take, and a lot of people were giving him a hard time, myself included. So, but yeah, I definitely want to make sure we get that in. That's I definitely want to talk about that. But we have our typical 3 news categories. Nom the Crom. That's an intentional misspelling and mispronunciation because of Biden. We're talking about the noms. Obviously, the Omicron virus. And its latest status. I found a YouTube channel that's really good on keeping up to date. Guy talks to people internationally every day and posts stuff every day about where we are, charts, everything. Really cool stuff.
Well, we already know where we are because of Sydney Watson.
Oh, thank God. Here. Yeah, we are here. That poor girl. And I fucking can't stand Elijah Schaefer because he went after her and he just sat there like a little dickless little boy. Don't get me started. Number 2, Jizz Lane is guilty.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah. It's pronounced Ghislaine. Like Gline. Ghislaine.
I actually thought it was pronounced. I thought it was pronounced Ghislaine. And like that's why people were spelling it Ghislaine is because that's actually the pronunciation.
It was on
Could
the
I
news.
be the first to make the joke Ghislaine didn't kill herself?
Well, you wouldn't be the first, but you'll be the first on the stream.
Okay.
That was on Twitter pretty heavily on Twitter. People were like, Ghislaine didn't kill herself. So we'll get to her and that. Terry probably knows more about that than I do. So and then finally, Kyle, everybody, I want to make sure people in chat know. Everyone in chat know who Kyle Kashev is. Bless you. Bless you again. Stop it. Does everybody in chat know who Kyle Kashev is? He was. He was. Well, you're not in chat. Well, you are in chat. I know you know. He was one of the students in Parkland during the Parkland shoot-up in Broward County in Florida. Other notable was David Hogg, who's now spending time. He's now spending time in college, so being stupid there. And he put out a tweet that I want to talk about as well. So, do you guys have a favorite topic that you want to start with?
I mean, let's talk about porn because we always talk about sex at some point.
Let's get right to it.
Let's get out the sauce. Sorry, boys.
Yeah. So Kyle Kashev was on Twitter today and says that he wants to ban porn. And I immediately got very upset because you know how level-headed I am. I never get upset. I immediately got upset because with the turf wars between the left and right, I always blame the left for tromping on human rights. They're the people who don't. They want to cancel culture. They want to shut you up. They don't want your. They want you to have guns. They're the people who are like that. But then to have somebody who's conservative, and there are other conservatives who are in the same line as him. Liz Wheeler is another one. And what I found out is, or what I don't know if I could say I found it out, but I feel strongly that a lot of these people, besides being conservative, are also very religious. Specifically Christians who are, so they're bringing their religion to their politics. And that's the problem for me. What about you guys?
Always.
Well, I'm pro porn. I think if someone wants to do porn, even Jack Murphy, if anyone wants to do porn, they are welcome to, as long as it's their choice. I mean, obviously, trafficking and all that is a terrible thing, but if someone willingly becomes a porn actor or actress, good on them. That's their decision to make.
Jack says he's the anti-hog. Hellcat.
Yeah.
Anti-hog. That's pretty
Basically,
funny.
he is.
That's pretty funny. What do you think, Jen? You think we should be keeping our religion out of our politics?
I absolutely 100% believe you should always keep the religion out of politics, because then which religion do you go with?
Mine, always.
Right? And then also you get stuff like this kid who's like, well, I don't like porn. Well, what if in my religion we don't give a shit about porn?
That's the Ben Shapiro defense. I don't know if you've seen it was one of his most watched videos where he speaks about how he argues. Whenever he argues, he ran into a guy who tried to qualify him. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but the person who was questioning him said, "Do you have a degree in political science?" And Ben's like, "No," and he says, "You probably don't want to pursue that line because you're talking about an argument from authority there. You know, I can tell when something's bullshit. I don't need to have the appropriate enumerated degree from the college of your choice to be able to talk about bullshit when I see it." And he says, "There's a reason when I talk about this stuff, I talk in a secular voice, because not everybody believes in Judaism." He says, "Look at this. This is Yamaha. Yamaha. That's funny. This is a yarmulke. I'm a Jew," he says, "but I never bring my religion into my political speeches because not everybody believes in Judaism." He says that's a mistake.
And he makes the point that if someone doesn't believe in Judaism, then they're not going to care. Like,
right.
if he references, you know, the Talmud or whatever holy books Judaism has, they're going to be like, okay, cool. So what? Like, that's not a compelling argument unless you already agree with him on Judaism.
I mean, you're going to go up against a lot of secular people. Yeah. Even people who believe in God still believe in facts and figures.
Yes.
So if you talk secular, you'll hit everybody. If you talk religion, you only hit the religious people. And the people who are in your religion specifically. He still talks about the Bible. You know, he knows, you know, Christianity very well as a Jew. He knows Christianity because of the Bible, and the first book of the Bible is their book. The only difference is Christians have a second book, and Christians believe that Christ was the Savior. And as far as Judaism is concerned, I believe, I'm not Jewish, so I don't know. As far as I understand, the Jews just believe that he was a prophet, but not the Son of God. So
that's basically what I've heard. Yeah,
Judaism isn't that far from Christianity. They both believe in the same initial book, at least. It's not like Buddhism.
Well, I mean,
or Islam.
Jesus Christ was Jewish. Like,
yes, yeah, he was a Jew.
He was from their country and all.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, he made the best point though, is that if you're going to argue on a level that everybody can agree on. So being challenged by, you know, your qualifications. and it was like the best line he ever said. He says, I'm trying to remember exactly what he said because it was so short and elegant. He said something like, I don't need to be, oh, he was talking about women and how people retreat into their identity politics whenever they get into fights. And he
Yeah.
says, I don't need to be a woman to know evil when I see it. He's talking about abortion.
True.
Because I think the woman he was talking to at the time was saying, well, you're not a woman, so how would you know?
Well, I don't know which comedian it was, but someone else made a very similar point where they were saying, well, you're not a woman, you can't speak like that. He's like, I'm not a pilot either, but if I see a helicopter in a tree, I can go, that's not meant to be there.
That's funny. Yeah, that's not supposed to be there. Generally, you don't see helicopters in trees very often.
That's the point.
You said you got a comedic stint to you, Terry. That was pretty funny. Yeah. So I mean, identity politics is just. I know we're kind of bouncing around on topics here because we started off with Kyle Kashuff and porn, but we have a tendency to do that. But
it always comes back to that with the porn because that's usually where it's coming from. If it's not coming from the religious folks, it's coming from the might as well be religious left.
Yeah, there isn't very much religious left, is there?
Might as well be.
To progressivism as a religion.
Because they treat it like it might as well be a religion, and the way that they're attacking things in media, like they're just as prudish.
I see what you're saying.
Like, if I were to present a game with a little ta-ta in it, oh my god, I'm sexualizing women. Never mind the fact that I've never played a game where I didn't pick the girl that was the most attractive to me. Because that's what I want to represent myself as. Sorry. Not sorry.
I just realized how Canadian you sounded when you said sorry.
Every once in a while, she says something, and I think to myself, "Hey, Canadian, I can hear it."
But it's almost like games are escapism, So like they're attacking all the female characters, and I'm like, who do you think we play as?
Yeah.
Like,
what's wrong with being sexy?
Like, it's my escapism.
Everything.
Thank you. Yeah. Like, I for like 20 years of my life, I couldn't figure out how to lose weight. So I was a little chubby. I'm like, it's nice to pretend to not be chubby for a few minutes. Thank you.
Almost all of my characters in WoW were female. It's really much more enjoyable to play a third-person character watching a cute little female butt bouncing around on the screen than it is a fucking ogre. Who wants to watch a fucking ogre?
I just choose default settings. If I have to pick a gender, I'll pick male just because I am one. But I default settings all the way. I if default is human, I'll be a human. If default is warrior or barbarian or thief or whatever, just default options all the way through.
Yeah. My favorite characters, I think I've mentioned this more than once, in HOTS is Vala from she's a demon hunter from Diablo, and Sylvanas, who is kind of a hunter-esque, she bow and arrow, from World of Warcraft. And if you look at the characters in HOTS, they're very sexualized. They're both, big boobs and thin waists and tall and all that kind of stuff. And even the characters that I don't play regularly, like probably my third favorite character would be Diva. And most of the time I'm playing her, she's in her mech. She's a character that plays inside of a mech. And she is a gamer in the game. Like, she uses all the gamer lingo in the game. Like headshot and, ready up and all these very typical gamer type of things.
If I played HOTS, I would play Kerrigan from StarCraft.
Yeah, Kerrigan is, and they actually have a couple of skins of Kerrigan. It's kind of something I like about HOTS. I hate to get off on HOTS because I keep talking about it every time, and people are probably sick of this, but I enjoy it so much I can't help myself. So you get me on this topic. But Kerrigan is a demon. She's got, these big, huge bat wings kind of deal, and she's covered in like this like feathery leather kind of thing. But the thing about HOTS is they have these extra skins. Even League of Legends has them. But so they have some of these playful skins, I guess we'll call them, because of, they do things like Vala has her typical outfit where she has a hood and she has her her two what's the those things that fire arrows that are one-handed? What do they call those? Not
like a crossbow.
Crossbow. She has dual crossbows. That's her weapons. And she's a demon hunter, so her eyes glow red and she's all that kind of stuff. But then they have these skins where she's a cowboy in pink, completely against her character. And they change her dance, they change her voice, they change everything about her just for this skin, And they do the same thing with Kerrigan.
Kerrigan started as a human and then got captured by the Zerg and then became
Zergified.
Whatever she is.
Yeah, she's Zergified. But I mean, they have a skin for her where she's in Heroes of the Storm, where she's a cheerleader. She's got a short little skirt on and she's holding pom-poms. I kid you not.
That's funny.
It's just hilarious. So I'm sorry to get off on HOTS. I just enjoy the game so much I can't stop myself. But back to porn. I am pro porn in I wouldn't say pro porn, but I am accepting of porn in both circumstances. If you want to make porn, you go ahead and you make porn. That's fine. If you want to watch porn, what you do in the privacy of your home is up to you. And when when a conservative tries to come into my bedroom kind of deal, not that this is exactly the same thing, but when a conservative says, I want to ban this thing that you should be free to see, that's where I have the problem. And and he's doing it because I'm sure it's because he's Christian that he's saying that.
It is.
I don't know if he is or not. But
I think it was a Catholic school, Parkland.
Oh, was it?
It was Christian of some variety. I think it was a religious school.
Yeah, dual crossbows are not the most practical weapon. You're right, Jack. They're not, but they are cool. The thing about that cowboy is she, instead of having dual crossbows, when she has that cowboy skin, one's a revolver and the other one's a sawed-off shotgun, and it makes the sounds. I mean, they change the sounds and everything for it, so it's pretty cool. Yeah. So I mean, what you do in the I hate to see conservatives because conservatives are supposed to be standing up for the Constitution. That's the whole point of that.
Yeah,
they're supposed to love the Constitution.
I was telling Gunsky in chat that it's not so much left versus right; it's authoritarian versus libertarian. Like, I don't think anything should be banned just because a certain group doesn't like it. Like, the religious right doesn't like porn, they can just not watch porn.
That's basically it.
Yeah, he says it's bad for our country.
Well,
I mean, if you abuse anything, it can be bad for you. You abuse cigarettes, pot, drug, whatever, alcohol.
To be honest, I can't help thinking it's the fact that we're not getting laid that's part of the problem. The whole feminist uprising 5 years ago, and I feel like people haven't gotten laid in the last 6 years. Repressed sexuality causes cuckoo-ness. Look at the left, or at least the ones on the left that I like. I think are taking it to a religious factor.
I'm very much do what you want as long as no one is getting hurt.
Yep.
You see what Carsten said in chat?
Porn is evil, send it all to me. Yeah. That reminds me of the Yen Buddhists in Terry Pratchett's Discworld, where they believe that money is the source of all evil. So they will very generously accept the burden of carrying all the wealth that they can amass.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to suffer the pain of wealth.
Yes.
They will take it off your hands.
I'll take your money for you. I'll make you better. Yeah, I mean, I'm a very typical guy. If I'm watching porn, it's lesbian porn. Because all guys, I don't think there's a guy on the planet who would say, ew. Every guy's like, lesbian porn? Really? Where? I don't think any guy's going to turn that down. So,
I mean, I wouldn't turn it down, but I don't know. I think my porn preferences would be where they're talking to the viewer, because Jay Leno made a similar point where watching two people have sex is like watching someone else eat a pizza when you're hungry. It's like, okay, but how does that help me? Whereas if they're directly addressing the viewer, then
like point of view
it
kind of
makes you
stuff.
feel like you're actually involved
Oh,
to
yeah.
some degree.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can see that. Jenny, you gonna get in on this, or do you want to pass?
No, I'm good. I'm quietly keeping my mouth shut because that's how I keep myself out of trouble.
But you don't have a problem with porn either, do you?
Nope, none.
People
because
making it, people watching it, it's all good, right?
Because people have a weird definition of porn. It always like fluctuates from person to person.
Yeah.
So from one person's angle to another person's angle, something could also be porn. I used to read yaoi. Do I necessarily consider that porn? Depends on the book.
Don't even know what it is.
Yaoi is
gay anime porn.
Gay animation. Yeah. But
makes sense that I wouldn't know what it is.
Yeah. But like, book to book, not every book would I consider porn. No. Some books, yes. Yes. Absolutely 100% yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Terry?
Mm-hmm. The definition of porn that sort of worked for me is after you've had an orgasm, are you still interested in this? No, like something can have nudity without being porn. And so the difference is if you've recently had an orgasm, are you still interested in this product?
Yeah.
And if the answer is God no, why would I be? Then it's porn.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's true. What's that, post-nut clarity kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right.
I think that's a good working definition. It's not precise, like you couldn't use it as a legal definition, but like just for general categorization, I think it works.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the reason why I got pissed about that. And I used to really like Liz Wheeler. I mean, pretty blonde chick, all this kind of stuff. And I liked what she said, but she started injecting a lot of her religion into the politics, and that turned me off. Even though it's the same religion as me. She's Catholic, I'm Catholic. But I just didn't like hearing her prophetizing while she was being political. Yeah. That's what bothered me. So, but why don't we move on? This. How are you doing tonight, Jen? Can we go a little long?
Oh, we could go a little bit longer.
Okay.
I mean, we still got a little time anyway. But
yeah, I'm saying we've got 3 plus 2 optional, and we've only gotten rid of 1 so far. So we can go through. We can go through Jizz Lane and Nom Nom Necrominon quickly.
Sure.
But I'm going to let Terry take a lead on Jizz Lane because I know she's not guilty. I don't even know how many charges she was facing. If she got off on all of them, I have no idea. So Terry,
no. She was guilty of 5 out of 6.
What were they?
So I actually have the picture because if I can find it again. Here it is. So wait for it to load. Count 1: conspiracy to entice a minor to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. So she was found guilty for that. Count 2: enticement of a minor to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. That was the one she was not guilty. Count 3 was conspiracy to transport a minor with the intent to engage in criminal sexual activity. Guilty. Count 4: transportation of a minor with the intent to engage in criminal sexual activity. Guilty. Count 5: conspiracy to commit sex trafficking of minors. Guilty. Count 6: sex trafficking of minors. Guilty. So guilty of everything except the second one.
Wow. And she's in prison for the rest of her life.
Well, I mean, the rest of her life is probably going to be very, very short if she follows in Epstein's footsteps.
Yeah.
But she's not really talking about the things that Jeffrey Epstein could have talked about and might have told people that he was willing to talk about. She might not have painted a target on the back of her neck or back of her back or whatever.
She might anyway, but at the same time, though, everyone's kind of watching this one more than Epstein, just because of what happened to Epstein.
Yeah.
Like
maybe she knows. Keep your mouth shut, or else you'll be Epstein too.
Basically,
yeah.
That is entirely possible that she just keeps her mouth shut the entire time because she knows. Epstein, on the other hand, I think he had reasons to want to pull shit. Like, you know, one of those things where like, yeah, if I'm going to go down, then I'm going to take some of you down with me kind of mentality.
Yeah. She
Well, I
apparently
suppose
doesn't
that's
have that.
a gender difference. Like I could see a guy being like, well, I'm fucked, but I can take you bastards with me. Whereas Ghislaine might be thinking, well, if I sort of keep quiet and don't make waves, maybe, you know, this won't be too bad.
Well, I'm glad to see that that's happened. I'm a little concerned about. There seems to be a lot of talk about anybody who went to that island as a pedo. I don't know if you've been running around with this, seeing it on.
Yeah, there's kind of that. Yeah.
And I'm really against guilt by association. And people who have said specifically that they are against guilt by association in the past are talking about, well, Trump went there, well, Gates went there, well, Clinton went there, and they're kind of inferring, well, those people are guilty too.
Well, I think there's circumstantial evidence. Like, why would you go to that island if not for that? Is like where their mind is at. But I agree that you can't consider them guilty just because they did that. But I think people are treating their desire to go to this island as at least the groundwork of a case against them.
Well, let's do a little quick hypothetical here before we move on to something else. You are some famous, rich, not wealthy, but rich actor, because there's a difference between wealthy and rich. Wealthy means you can never be poor, where you can spend enough money to be poor when you're just rich. And all of your friends are rich. You're in Hollywood. You're living it up. You got a nice car, big mansion. Things are going well for you. And you hear about this guy, and he's like, yeah, no, we're having a big party. Why don't you come out? And you're like, oh, sure. You know, Gates is going to be there. Donald Trump's going to be there. I'll go there. What the hell? Why not? You may be completely and totally oblivious to what's going on behind the scenes there. You know, so you get on his airplane, you go there. Now you're guilty too? Well, wait a minute.
No. Like I said, I don't think you should be treated as guilty just because you went.
But I wouldn't be sad if they looked into it to find out that was all that happened.
Yeah, Adam pointed out.
Is that fair enough? Like, because like I don't want to accuse people to just go there, because there are people who went there who I don't want to see on that list. But I'd rather that it be checked and they become cleared.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I don't have a problem with people treating that island as one piece of evidence towards establishing guilt. It's not enough to ascertain guilt on its own.
No.
But it's at least suggestive that there's more to the story that needs to be uncovered.
And to that, on your side there, Hammer, I don't like that everyone just assumes that because you went to the island that you automatically knew it was a pedo island.
Right.
Because that's unrealistic too.
Yeah.
That kind of is, because I don't think he was necessarily doing that. I think it was more of a plant, you know, because if you can catch someone in the act of doing something like that, like Prince Andrew is an example of that.
Yeah.
He really is, because that picture of him is always going to make people question what he did.
Yeah.
Always. Even the girl who's in that picture is always going to question what happened there, because he did it. There was a picture.
Real quick, let me say some hellos to people in chat. Check Your Logic has joined us. Talix here, and our buddy Mr. Adam just showed up. And Adam made a point that Trump never actually went to Epstein's island. Epstein was at Mar-a-Lago, but Trump never went to the island. He went on Epstein's plane from New York to Florida, so he never actually went there. But Trump was asked about Epstein, and Trump said, I met him once, but I never really liked him, and I never saw him again, which is true.
Yeah.
We only met him once, so
yeah,
I shouldn't have brought up Trump. That was
well. I mean, he was mentioned. It is things where it comes up, you know, when they try to throw him in there. Well, he went there, you know. I'd just rather that it get looked into, just so that whoever was involved who did stuff is caught. And whoever was innocent, well, you know what? Don't accuse them of shit that they didn't do. Just be like, wow, you were someone really, really scary.
Yeah, there wasn't. Adam was saying there's not much on the island. There isn't. It's just a huge mansion and some tennis courts and stuff like that. There wasn't much on that island, but it was a
Okay.
nice place. And swimming pools, movie stars, that whole Beverly Hillbillies kind of theme there. So
Yeah, that's where my mind went to
Yeah.
Beverly Hillbillies.
yeah, so yeah, I mean, you can certainly go there. I mean, if you went there and you saw a bunch of 12-year-old girls walking around, the first thing I would think going there is, why would somebody bring their child here?
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, or something like that. You know, I wouldn't have thought, no, they're being imported for sex. I would have thought, oh no, that's innocent. That just means that, you know, Brianna or whoever, you know, Beyonce brought her daughter with her or something
Yeah.
like that. I would never have put two and two together like, uh-oh, that's a child, you know.
There is a lot of people not realizing what information you would have had available at the time. Like hindsight being 2020, it's easy to say, oh, they should have known. But if you were in that situation, as you say,
Mhm.
you see a kid running around, your first thought isn't going to be, that is an abused child here to be raped.
Yeah, that's not
No,
sex trafficking. That's just, you know, somebody brought a kid with them.
Mhm.
which is weird, but you know,
Yeah.
weird people are on this island, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're all celebrities, therefore they're all weird. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, that's the only thing that bothered me about that is that I didn't like seeing people who had in the past said that you should be able to talk to whoever you want to. You should be able to talk to both sides, and you shouldn't just because you're on the left, you should be able to talk to somebody on the right, and that should be okay. But you went to Epstein's Island, therefore you're a pedophile too. It's like, wait a minute now, you can't have it both ways.
I think a better comparison would be if they spoke to Epstein rather than went to the, like, I mean,
But you're
like,
gonna
as we said, like, there's nothing inherently like wrong, bad about going to the island. That's not, you know, proof in and of itself. But like, there's a difference between associating with someone and, you know, being
yeah,
going to an island that I don't know what the reputation of that island is among Hollywood. So
still, if you go and you don't know that there's something going on in the background, when you go and you're, especially if you're invited, you're going to walk up to the host and say, "Thank you for inviting me. How are you today?"
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
you're still going to get the
I
photo
think-
op.
Yeah, no, I think
The other thing
It-
that plays against that factor, and unfortunately for people who are going to be victims in that, is really the reputation that Hollywood has. Because the reputation that Hollywood has is that even if you're not in on stuff, you're aware that things are going on.
yeah, no, I think if you made frequent trips to the island,
Mhm.
that isn't evidence like in and of itself, but it's something that needs to be investigated.
I'll tell you right now, if it was me, it would have been over my head. I assume the better of people by default. It would never even cross my mind that something like that was happening. Someone would have had to come up to me and pulled my shirt and said, "Hey, by the way, you probably don't want to go out there because there's a lot of pedo shit going out there." I'm like, "Oh, really?" And then I'd be fucking out of there, you know. So I'm the dumb guy who would just assume everything was okay.
I'd be just as oblivious, but
Mhm.
I think it depends. Was it known as a pedo island amongst Hollywood elites? Like, is that like the reputation that it has, or not? Because that's another factor.
And Hillary Hilldog went there. Was she
Yeah.
having sex with girls? I mean,
There-
No, she was just making sure that Bill didn't.
she's probably making sure Bill did.
Yeah, the accusations against her I don't know about, but I have heard that she likes the women too. So I don't
Oh,
know.
really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. I can't imagine
Well,
another woman.
my mom, the first time she saw Hillary Clinton, she said, "That's a lesbian."
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she does wear comfortable shoes. Sorry. All right.
So I don't know with her, but she's got her own rap list. I'm very happy, YouTube. I'm just letting you know. Not suicidal thoughts at all. I'm just saying that Hillary has her own rap list.
Yeah,
So like
don't
I
get
don't want to
sad.
I don't want to just add stuff to it just because I don't like her. Like she's done stuff on her own.
I think Jen should add a red laser pointer on the forehead of her avatar.
But yeah, I don't want to accuse her of that because that just seems a little bit far stretched. But I have heard that she does have some tendencies towards the lesbianoobs.
Lesbianoobs. I haven't heard that one before.
I like to mix up the words.
By the way, what is that cute little animal in your avatar?
That is a beaver. It's
That's
a little
beaver?
baby beaver.
Okay.
That is a little baby beaver.
I was thinking hamster, but kind of brown for a hamster.
You are doxing Keeverdam right now, is what I'm hearing.
I just found this little
Wait a minute.
picture
What are we
of
talking about?
No, Keeverdam's avatar was a beaver before she changed it to
okay.
I just went for anything that was kind of cute, baby.
Okay, because you're just kind of giving me some subliminals there. I was like, wait a minute, beaver? What are we talking about?
Yeah, like the animal.
Got me confused.
Like a little beaver. And then I was just like, well, that's kind of Canadian. So I was like, I'll tag this as like a little special one. I've got like 5 little baby animal pictures. It is
adorable. I mean, it looks like the animal's smiling. Like, hi.
There she is. Says, that's my animal.
Yeah, the animal saying, hi.
That's usually how I fail in life is I see the baby of something and I'm like, oh, it's so cute. It's usually encouraged to see what they look like when they're adults.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Let's move off of Jizz Lane and
to nom nom.
Nom nom the Crom and nom. Our commander in chief cannot pronounce this word, Omicron. I don't understand. I watched this channel. I just found it a couple days ago. I don't know if I mentioned it last Wednesday or not, but I haven't been watching it for very long. But this guy is a doctor, some kind of biologist or something, disease biologist or something like that. He belongs to this little consortium of doctors who are very intently watching what's going on with the COOF. He has a couple of guys in the States. He has a guy in Japan. He has a couple. He's in the UK. He has a couple people in the UK. He has a couple people in like Uganda and Nigeria and stuff like that. And they're all communicating over Zoom calls, and they're all getting daily updates about what's going on in their country. And he's doing videos like 1 or 2 a day about where we are and what's happening right now. And complete with he does like a full book report thing with charts and, showing this is how much this is doing. This is where this is going. And I project it's going to continue on this course, blah, 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 blah. And it's very clear, very relatable. He's not talking over everybody's head with, weird terms that no one's going to understand. He's talking English and charts that are very easy to understand. And I've become almost addicted to watching this channel to see what's coming up with next. But I feel very well informed about what's going on with the COOF. And he made a statement that I talked about it on Twitter. He's saying that Omicron is much more contagious than everything else, including the common cold. That everybody's going to get it. You will not be able to stay away from it. People who are in homes, like me and you, Terry, who are not really going out and doing anything, are getting it because it's in the air. If you're getting mail delivered to your house and then you walk out to get the mail, you get it. It's that bad. It lingers in the air.
It's also really, really mild.
It's mineral. It's much, much, much smaller in size than Delta was. So instead of being heavy and falling to the ground in an hour, it sits in the air for 3 or 4 hours from wherever that person was. So somebody from UPS handing you a package, you got it. Because you're close enough. You're within 6 foot. And he's breathing. You're going to get it. And he says this is actually a good thing. Because if you get it, you don't have any symptoms. You don't die from it. You're very unlikely to even go in the hospital for it. I mean, there are deaths. People are dying from it. There's no 2 ways about it. But he explained he even went to the point of explaining why you don't die from it. Not only that you don't get sick and that your symptoms are mild, but why. He explained it in detail. You know what the lungs look like. They're basically 2 big eggs in size.
Yeah.
And they're they're connected by the bronchial tree that goes from your throat, splits to your two lungs, right? Very straightforward. And inside your lungs are these little sacs that separate the oxygen from the air and inject it into your bloodstream. They're called alveoli. You know this stuff, right? I'm not talking over anybody's head here, am I?
No, you're fine. I'm just, you know, I watched this documentary on Vikings last night, and they demonstrated what they did with the blood eagle. So keep going.
Well, anyway, the coof gets into the alveoli and damages the alveoli, kind of like you get like a fluid buildup, and it ruins the cells, so they can't do the work anymore, and you drown. That's how you die from Delta and Alpha and all that. But Omicron doesn't do that. It does to some degree, but for the most part, it does not get into the alveoli. It gets caught in the bronchial tube. So it's easier to detect. It's easier to transmit because it doesn't have to come all the way from the bottom of the lungs up and out. It's already kind of just below your throat. So that's why it spreads so easily, is because it's right there out of your mouth, kind of deal. It's just below your throat. And it doesn't kill you because it doesn't get into the alveoli and damage the lungs. It still does to some extent. But where the other ones were 100% where they lived, this is only like 10% where it is. Most of it's in the bronchial tubes. So once you understand, and he explained this to me, the same way I'm explaining it to you, anybody can understand this. If I can catch this, anybody can understand this. This is basic physiology here. So when he explained it, I was like, oh, so that's why this is this way, and that's why everything kind of fell into place. The puzzle pieces kind of fit. So, and he explained to me, to everybody in his video, and he showed this is Delta and this is Omicron. And he showed a graph where the bottom part was Omicron and the top part was Delta. And over time, the Delta was getting smaller and smaller and smaller to the point where it was almost a sliver. And Omicron was going from 1/4 of an inch all the way up to like 3 inches. So you can see Delta being phased out by Omicron. I was not prepared to talk about this in this detail, or I would have taken one of his charts and put it up so everyone who's watching the show tonight could see what I'm talking about. I should have done that. But he was very happy. It's funny to hear a doctor say, everyone's going to get sick. It's great. But that's exactly what he was saying, is that Omicron is doing us a favor. It's giving us the immunity against the coof outright. And it's doing it in a way that's not killing everybody, and it is displacing Delta.
But you still need 25 vaccines before the end of the month.
Yes. You still need to be vaccinated beyond belief. But even the CDC has said you don't have to quarantine for 15 days. You don't have to quarantine for 10 days. Now with Omicron being the big deal, 5 days is enough. And now that Omicron's the big boy on the block, it's so small that and not like the original mask could stop the virus either, but it's clear that a cloth mask is not going to stop this at all.
No.
Yeah, they've kind of made that clear with us at my job. Like, if you're in the store past 9 o'clock, you have to change your mask out for an N95.
Okay. An N95 is the only thing that has a chance. Even a surgical mask doesn't stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And breakthrough infections are no longer being considered breakthrough. They're just infections.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing to break through anymore. Omicron doesn't care about your vaccination. You know.
But you still need it.
Well,
so Susan doesn't take the stream down. You still need all the vaccinations that your body can handle, and one more.
And don't forget to take your vitamin gummies. Don't forget to take your vitamin gummies, because I find that like a lot of places are really forgetting the fact that it's not just COVID. Like they didn't even ask me about any symptoms for anything other than COVID when I was sick.
Yeah.
I was like, so you do know that everything else that's out there can still fuck me up, right? Okay.
He did a big thing about ivermectin too. He went and cleaned up that whole thing for me as well. He was like, you have to understand what these people are being accused of is 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. He said they call it horse tranquilizer. Well, it is exactly the same medication. It's still ivermectin both ways. The difference is there are things added to it that benefit horses, and the amount that they're given is much more. He says you
you need
give
a lot more to treat a horse than a human.
right, exactly. Common sense, but no one's saying it except for this guy. He says you can take the ivermectin that's given to a horse and take a small piece of it, and he says you'll be absolutely fine because it's the same drug.
Yeah.
He says you have to understand that we're not plants, we're not insects, we're animals just like a horse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not. It's the reason that it's
But
dangerous
we're
is
even
because
both mammals. It's not
right.
like one's a lizard and one's a bird.
Right.
We're both mammals.
Yeah. So I mean, he cleared it up very clearly for me. I guess if anybody's interested, I'll go ahead and fire up the browser.
You know,
track down
these are all the
channel.
same. You know, a lot of these people wouldn't even blink twice at the chemical cocktails that they were giving their kids in like the 80s and the 90s, and they're still doing it now. Like the shit that's in Ritalin.
Oh yeah.
That kind of shit.
Yeah.
You know, and they're gonna complain about a cough, cold mess, and you're just like, you don't know shit about drugs. Shut up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know shit about drugs either, but like
Go ahead and I'm gonna while you guys are talking, I'm gonna go ahead and track down his channel. It's very common name, like Dr. John something. Very Dr. Yeah, I was right. Dr. John Campbell is the name of the guy, and I'll just put a link.
Gunsky's quoting the Bloodhound Gang. We ain't nothing but mammals.
Some of us are mammals.
So let's do it like they do on the Discovery Channel.
That was Eminem, right?
No, that was the Bloodhound Gang.
That was the Bloodhound Gang. I put a link in chat for everybody if they want to go out and check out the channel. I found it very informative, very easy to digest. It's like being told this by your grandfather. He's an older gentleman, you know, and it's very. He doesn't talk down to you. He doesn't talk in huge acronyms, you know, or anything like that. He just makes a report. It's almost as if, like you said, "Hey Doc, can you explain to me what's going on?" And he just explains it to you. It's just very. There's not very many channels that come along to me that are like, "Wow, this is great," you know, out of nowhere. And he just that channel just really just blew me away. Not because it's got great production values or any of that kind of stuff. It's just tells you what you need to know in a very clear and easy to digest way. So, I mean, I urge you guys to check it out. I think that's going to be kind of a thing with the Wednesday night show, is to come up with other YouTube channels to promote, even though they don't ask for it, because there's so many good channels out there, you know. Like you and me found out, you know, you found it before I did, Advent Preach, you know.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. I've been watching them for a while.
So all we're doing is the people who are watching our show, we're just giving them another great place to find good, fun content. So we're doing a service to our group by pointing out other channels that are awesome. Don't ever go watch Philly D, though.
The way I found Advent Preach is because there's a channel that I was subscribed to called Alexander Grace. And what he did was he had his friend, who was like an 18-year-old girl, pretend to be him on dating apps so that she would get the perspective of the male side of dating apps and what it's like being a guy on these things.
Yeah.
And like she went in like, oh yeah, this will be easy. And then she got like 4 matches over a week.
Yeah.
And she's like her self-esteem is like in tatters. It's like, what am I doing? Why is this not? Why won't they even talk to me?
I saw that video.
And then Advent Preach were in my recommendations because they were reacting to Alexander's video. And then I saw them and like, these guys are great. So I subscribed and I've watched them ever since.
Yeah. They're a lot of fun. When Preach starts laughing,
Mm.
oh my God, I'm laughing so hard I got to run to the bathroom. I'll piss myself. It's just his laugh is so infectious.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it was just finding they're one of the odd group of street YouTubers from Canada who will talk about politics. Like they don't just focus on us all the time, which is a nice thing too. Like they do kind of cover a little bit of everybody. But it's one of the things that I will never not shade Andy Worski for. Not once has he ever brought up Canadian politics ever. In his time on YouTube. And I was like, oh, well, you know, you're the biggest representative of our no, had no interest. Abba and Preach, on the other hand, I'm like, well, you know what? These guys tackle a lot of topics. Like they'll tackle almost anything. Which I kind of like that they're like that.
They're a little bit right leaning. They're a little conservative, aren't they?
I would say
yes and no.
They're liberal, but I would say that they're more middle of the ground liberal. Like they're more of the traditional liberal than what our liberal system has turned into.
Because like with Black Lives Matter, they very much believe in systemic oppression and all that stuff, and like racist institutions and all the sort of progressive side of the aisle when it comes to race. Maybe because they're both black, so that's kind of
they're also
the lens that they're seeing things.
They're also living in Quebec. Like I had to really sit and think about that one for a really long time. I know that shouldn't make a difference, but in Quebec it kind of does. I can't speak for what it's like in Quebec. I don't know what it's like for a person of color, but Quebec is harsh on everybody who's not from Quebec. So if you don't look like you're from Quebec, I can imagine it's probably a little bit harder. Because now they have a visual that lets them know, well, you're clearly not really from here, are you?
Isn't Abba Asian?
What gave it away?
Abba is
Abba is Ethiopian.
Yeah.
And Preach is Haitian.
Oh, okay. I haven't been watching them long enough to have picked up on that yet. They haven't mentioned it. I've only been watching like the last 20 videos or so.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I don't feel like it's actually my place to speak from their position, because in Quebec I could actually see someone being racist, or at least not perceiving what they are doing as racist, but still doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Because it's I don't know that it's necessarily a French thing, but when they dislike you or they decide they dislike you, and that's just all there is to it.
Yeah. What was
I can't.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
What was the topic that you wanted to talk about, Terry? I've lost my train of thought.
You mean the Danny DeVito thing? Or
well, Danny DeVito. I promised Kieverdan we would talk about
Jack Murphy.
Jack Murphy. I keep wanting to say Jack. Our Jack. I keep getting the Jacks mixed up. We had a bit of a discussion before the show started about Jack Murphy, and I think I have a little bit of a different perspective on him than just about everybody else does. Monkey and Jack were questioning his. It's funny to hear someone say, "If you want to be a porn actor, be a porn actor." But if you're a guy with a dildo up your ass, you're a fag. You know, it's like, wait a minute. You're saying is, don't slut shame people for being porn actors, but you're going to slut shame this guy because you don't like him.
Basically, yes.
Wait a minute. Now that should apply to everybody. Either you are going to slut shame people or you're not. You can't say, don't do it and then turn around and do it. You know.
That's why I mentioned Jack Murphy earlier in the stream, and it's like, if you want to do porn, even if you're Jack Murphy and you want to do porn, that's fine, because I don't care that he did porn. That doesn't change anything.
I don't care that he did porn. I don't care that the kind of porn that he did. It doesn't. I don't care. This seems to be this thing that if you have gay sex, or that you are gay, that you're less of a man. But I don't see them as being particularly related. I mean, if you're kind of sexist in your mind about things, you might see it that way. But just because you do things that are not traditional in bed, it doesn't make you gay or straight
No.
or it doesn't. You know, I mean, when you start talking about toys, that's not the same as having a real. If you're in bed with another man, you're at least bi, if
Yes, that
not
goes
gay.
without saying.
But if your girlfriend says, "I want you to stick this up your butt," well, all right, you know, it may not do anything for you, but she thinks it's a turn on. Fine, you know. I've never been in that position, but if I was put in that position, it would not bother me in the least bit to do whatever what it takes to turn her on. If that gets your goat, that I'm happy to do it for you. No big deal. You know, I'm not going to get in bed with another guy.
I wouldn't like it. I wouldn't like it just because I consider that an exit, not an entrance, and
yeah, well, a lot of people do.
I don't want things up there. Like I wouldn't enjoy going to get my prostate exam because I don't want stuff up there. I mean,
have you already had to go to get a prostate exam?
No.
I've had 4. I'm almost 60. I've had 4. So
Yeah,
it's not about enjoyment. When it comes to the medical side, you have to get it done. If you don't get it done, you can have colon cancer and die. I mean, it's vital after you get to a certain age that you have to start getting it done.
No, I agree. I'm just saying that, like, that's one of the things that I would not like is that.
Yeah.
That's a necessary step of getting the examination.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of things there. I've been in poor health for so long. I'm actually in good health. I shouldn't complain about my health anymore because I'm in a good place now. I'm a good guy. I'm happy. I'm healthy enough to be functional and everything is good. But in my past, I've been very, very, very sick. And so I've had people have to do things to me that had to be done. And you can't afford to be modest. After a while, if people are giving you suppositories and I don't want to get too gross, but if they're wiping your ass because you can't physically get out of bed or even move enough to get on a bedpan, you know, you can't be modest anymore. And this is not going to sound right, but if you had enough fingers up your ass, you don't care anymore. You know? So for me, it's not going to make any difference at all. I've because of my health issues, I've already been probed and prodded so many ways that it's not even funny anymore. You know, and not even just in my butt. I've had my share of, you know, they have to sometimes relieve your bladder. I had a frozen bladder. They have to stick a hose up your dick. You know, the reason I hesitate when I say that is because I don't know if I should say the medical term or the colloquial term. I don't want to use the sexual term, but you know, I can use the slice one, up your junk. We'll say it that way. And I'll tell you, that is not a pleasant thing. If you think that getting something put in your butt, at least you have a prostate. And if something touches your prostate, it's not a bad feeling. I will tell you that now. Gay men, one of the reasons why they're gay is when they have sex, there's rubbing of the prostate, and you can actually have an orgasm from that. In case, you know, there's women out there who didn't know that. And generally when they're doing exams for prostate or whatever, they don't go near your prostate unless they have to check to make sure. They're just usually checking the area around it. But they don't constantly rub it to try to get a response out of you. They just check it. Yeah, it's there. It's working. It's okay. It's the right size. I'm out. You know, the doctor doesn't want you to get a hard on. You know,
no,
that's not what he's trying to do. So like at this point, there's no social stigma to me personally. There still is to the world of having something in my butt.
Well, apparently the police are after you for what you just said.
They're coming to get me.
They're in the wrong country, but
it's a long
might
drive.
take a while to get to you.
Yeah, I'll have to get a ferry, unless they're planning on driving underwater. So I mean, if Jack wants to have a dildo up his butt and do porn, you know, in that porn there was a woman. And she was doing all the things that woman had to do to make sure that was between a man and a woman. So regardless of the fact that there were some toys involved, that was still straight up hardcore porn between a man and a woman.
Yeah.
And
see, for me, Jack Murphy is funny because of the cucking, not because he happened to do gay porn.
Yeah, that
like
was...
the cucking undermines his whole claim of being an apex predator, alpha male, gigachad.
See, I don't know if that's necessarily true, because you have to be the most secure person in the world to allow that to happen and not have it affect you. If you had a girlfriend and she wanted to have sex with somebody else, could you handle that?
No. He wanted her to have sex with other men.
But that's
she didn't want to do it.
Isn't that kind of bragging? Isn't that kind of big dick energy? I'm so powerful that I can have my woman do this at my command.
To be honest, I think it's more to do with the fact that he used to work in porn. Like, I imagine in porn, half the time you are watching some other dude.
Oh, yeah. Porn actors date each other all the time, and they continue to be porn actors while they're dating.
So, like, I mean, at a certain point, you're kind of used to that kind of...
Yeah, it's to them, it's just sex. No big deal. It has nothing to do with personal feelings. I can't separate it. Personally, I could not separate that. I've always had this thing with girlfriends and wives. I said, the only thing you have to be with me is faithful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I tell you that I'm getting fat and you lie to me and tell me that I'm thin, that's perfectly okay. So you can lie to me, but when it comes to being faithful, you will be faithful to me or it's over and there's no second chances. If I catch you flirting with somebody or kissing somebody, even the most innocent of things, that's over. And there's no second shots at it. You're done. So
yeah, no, that's fair.
The concept in my mind of allowing or commanding my girlfriend to have sex with somebody else, I could never do that. I am very much secure in my manliness that I could sit here and tell you that having a toy up my butt wouldn't bother me. That's how secure I am in being a man. But I could never go that far as to tell my girlfriend to have sex with somebody else. There's no fucking way I can handle that.
No, me neither.
Yeah. So, I mean, how does this play off the female perspective, Jen?
Well, I'm not a big fan of cheating. Like, that's just kind of one of my nose. But
it's not cheating though, because he was not only aware of it, he was not only okay with it, he was instigating it.
Well, that's just it. This is like a consented thing. For me, I'm not really too keen on the idea of yeah, I've never really been into the idea of multi-sharing myself. Like I kind of get the idea, but like from his perspective, I get maybe some of it has to do with the porn world. But I don't know. I've always been kind of more of a fan of the loyalty factor as being kind of sexy.
Yeah.
And you don't really get that if you have a threesome. Like, I can understand that happening to maybe spice things up or something.
No, he wasn't. It wasn't a threesome.
Yeah,
he was at home while his girlfriend was banging Matt from Tinder.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be okay with that. Because like that.
Turn it around. Could you send your boyfriend out?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it conflicts feelings that I just
exactly
wouldn't feel comfortable with.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a big no for me. Sorry. I don't have very many rules when it comes to that kind of stuff, but faithfulness is an absolute.
Yeah, that's quite reasonable. I think
it is an absolute.
You should be able to expect that from your romantic partner.
Yeah, I don't want to hear about your past partners either. You know,
no, of course not.
That has nothing to do with me. I don't want to hear about it. You know, you can have past partners. I don't, you know, you can only be the fairest of maidens. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, you know, what you did with your past is up to you. Just as long as you're faithful to me, I don't care. So, but that's Jack Murphy. I don't have any problems with what he's doing the way he did. And I really think that whole alpha thing, there's two sides to that story too, but I'm unique. I may be unique to that perspective. I'm not sure. And we should probably get to Danny DeVito too.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Jen's gonna fall asleep
I
on us.
just
We're
think
half an
that's
hour in.
I just think that's hilarious. The whole Danny DeVito thing.
Do you know about that, Jen? The Danny DeVito thing?
No, not at all. What's
Okay,
going on?
tell her about it, Terry.
Okay, so there's a post on Twitter from the Am I the Arsehole account where the woman is saying, "Am I the arsehole for wanting to break up with my boyfriend
That was Reddit,
because of
wasn't
Danny
it?
DeVito?"
Wasn't that Reddit?
Well,
Isn't
the
Am I the
original
asshole
post,
Reddit? Isn't that a Reddit thing?
yeah. But
Okay.
the Twitter account, Am I the Arsehole, shares the best of the Reddit.
Oh, does it? Oh, I didn't know about that part. Go ahead. Don't let me interrupt.
Okay. So basically, the guy is working at home because of the lockdowns and such. And he's a massive fan of Danny DeVito, and he has a cardboard cutout of him that he has and he likes. And so he's on a Zoom call with his boss, and Danny's just there behind him. The boss says, "Can you move that out of the way?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, sure." And then the next, like a week later, he puts it back. Another Zoom call with the boss, and the boss is like, "Look, can you get rid of Danny DeVito?" And this time he just blows up. He's like, "You can't tell me how I decorate my house. You know, fuck you, fuck your job," sort of thing. You know, he just goes off on the boss. And then the boss is saying, "Look, I can't fire you over it, but you should know that your career is effectively over." And the girlfriend is like, "You threw away your career over a cardboard cutout of Danny DeVito. Am I the asshole for wanting out of this relationship?"
So there was something there that I didn't know. I thought that his boss told him the first time to remove it. And then after the call was done, the second time, his boss blew up at him and started cursing him out. And then the guy responded in kind. That's how I thought that happened.
You might be remembering it better than I did, because I read the thread like yesterday or the day before. If you've been paying more attention to it, then you probably know better than I do.
Yeah. So I mean, Monkey was like, that guy, the employee is a dick. He's a pussy. That's what they were saying about it. And
I wouldn't call him a pussy. He might be a bit juvenile.
He threw away his career because of a cardboard cutout. Was the terms that they were throwing around. And for me, I mean, whether it was a cardboard cutout or the color of the wall or what kind of tie I was wearing, whatever the boss had a problem with, if a boss comes at me abusively, that's it. If a boss comes at me, "You dumb son of a bitch, you're fucking did that on," he comes at me like, well, it's going to be a fuck you no matter what. I don't care who you are. I don't care how high of a paying job I'm in. If you come at me, you don't own me. You don't have the right to berate me. I don't give a fuck who you are. I sound very ranty here. I don't want to take anybody's shtick. But that's the way I feel about it. So, I mean, whether it was a cardboard cutout or the color of my eyes, whatever set the boss off about this,
so
he handled it wrong. He started the problem. That's how I see it.
If the boss was the initial aggressor, then yes, I would agree. Because in my head, I did either missed or forgot that part of it, because I thought he just blew up the boss for no. But yeah, if the boss started the whole thing by aggressively, shouting and berating the guy, then I mean, he's far more justified in telling the boss to go fuck himself.
Yeah.
Never mind that a lot of people use those cardboard cutouts as like a means to focus their camera.
Sure.
Like that could be the sole reason he has it, and he just liked that one in particular because his daddy, he's a fan.
Yeah.
Well, see, the argument was very one-sided. The point was picked that the employee was the pussy in this circumstance, or however you want to frame it. And it was built on assumptions. They're assuming all these things. And I was thinking, well, what about assuming everything the opposite way? But nobody wanted to hear that. What happens if he moved it as requested And then his wife was dusting and she moved it back and he didn't pay attention. You know, that could have happened. Or he could have put it back because between the two work calls, he had a personal call and someone liked that there. Or he put it there and forgot that he put it back. I mean, there's so many things that you can say that made this innocent on his perspective.
Yeah.
And really, the whole thing between him and his boss is not the issue of the post. The issue is from the girlfriend who says, should I leave my boyfriend over this? That's the part that nobody really talked about. And my thought was, yes, you should, because you're a dick. You should leave him because he should not, you don't deserve him. Was my response.
I was going to go a similar path and say, yes, you should leave him because if you're considering it, you already want to.
Right. But I mean, if she's going to consider leaving over something that trivial, that he got into a fight with his boss, if that's going to get her to leave, then she was never really anybody to be there in the first place.
Anytime you ask the question, should I leave this person? The answer is yes, because you already want to.
Yeah.
You're trying to justify it.
Yeah. I mean, someone who has absolutely no devotion to you, something this small is going to push you out of his life, then please leave. You're doing him a favor by leaving. You're the problem. Yes, you are the asshole.
But I mean, I just don't think the scale of it is even important. If you're at the point of saying, should I leave this person, whether it's because he blew up at his boss, he didn't brush his teeth, or because he killed your wife, killed your mother. If you're asking the question, should I leave this person? The answer is always yes, because you want to, and you're just trying to justify it.
Yeah. I mean, if he killed your mother, you shouldn't really be asking. You should just leave. But yeah.
Well, but my point is, if you're at the point where you're
really
asking that
mother.
question, if you're asking the question, the answer is yes.
Yeah, the answer is yes.
Because the truth of the matter is, like, if it was on the other foot, like if it was her who had the fight with the boss, and he was saying that kind of shit, yeah, she'd be hurt as fuck.
Yeah,
she would be absolutely devastated. So
like,
yeah, I agree with both of you.
Supposedly, this guy already had something lined up, and my thought was, this guy's looking for a reason to get fired. You know, if he knows his boss hates this and he puts it there on purpose, if he did put it there on purpose, then he's trying to get fired. He probably has something better. Every time I've left a job, back when I was working, every time I left a job, I left for a raise. And they're talking about careers. You don't have a career by staying at one company. You don't. I've seen that many times, and you don't have a career by staying with one company. You want to have a career, you have to bounce around, because no one company is going to teach you everything you need to know. You have to move on to the jobs, have other challenges. That's how you gain a career, not by sitting at one
Unless
company.
the company is YouTube. Am I right, Susan?
Even so, there are places where you can learn how to be a much better host than just being thrown into the wolves on YouTube. So, my point though is that
I'm just trying to keep the stream from being pulled down. So, if we can get in Susan's good graces,
I'm the only one that can be me and Reject are the only ones who can be blamed because we started this shit. All the other hosts, they're fired, but I can get away with it. That's not true. I'm just kidding around. Yes, I mean, I had a completely different take on it, and I got quite fired up. I said a couple of things in chat, but when he has the microphone and he's talking, there's no way to argue with him on a level playing field. And
that's actually why on my Tuesday, when Quiz was hosting, we were talking, and like I just joined because there was no way we could talk while Quiz was on stream, and I was typing in chat trying to keep up with the conversation. You do either both need to be typing or both need to be talking.
Right. Well, the deal there is that the way it's set up for his stream, you can just join anytime you want.
Yeah.
You know, for people like me and Skep and the rest of the guys, we're all using StreamYards. Nobody knows the link to get here. I mean, we could publish it to the World World. We just won't add anybody.
No, but like if it had like not been through Discord, if I needed a link, I'd be like, I would have just said, look, can you send me a link? There's no way we can talk.
I was considering
like
that, but he was already 2/3 of the way into his show. So I didn't want to join and then spend 15 minutes and have him shut everything off, because he was near the end. So I didn't bother. but that's why I stopped talking in chat about that. I just let the subject go, and everyone was kind of sticking up for him in his chat anyway. So I was like, all right, well, whatever.
Yeah, well,
not a big deal.
he's always going to have the home ground advantage because they're there to listen to Monkey.
Yeah, at least there. And that's kind of his shtick too, is that he's never wrong. You know, the whole soup is a, you know, cereal.
Cereal is soup, yeah.
Yeah, that whole thing. So, but when he said something on Twitter, I replied to him on Twitter, and he didn't read. I don't remember. I don't think he replied back to me, but whatever. At least on Twitter, we can go back and forth because we're on the same level playing field there.
Yeah, for sure.
That may be the reason why Claudia never talks to me on anything voice, because at least on Twitter, she's guaranteed an even playing field. So maybe that's a sensitive subject for her. It's not Daddy DeVito.
Wouldn't she have? Wouldn't she have an even playing field if you're both talking though? Like, assuming that it's just you and her, like, not on a live stream with like 3 other people.
Yeah, I told her if she wants, bring all of your leftist friends, and they can mock me and do all that kind of stuff. And I think that scared her, because it showed her that I'm not afraid of her.
Yeah.
And I think that was the wrong thing to do. I should have played as long as you guys don't gang up on me, I'll talk to you, and did that kind of phrase and went that way. Because you can bring, literally, if there's a leftist out there listening to this, you know, if Claudia's listening to you, you want to bring your 35 guys and just scream at me all day, I got no problems. You can't hurt me. I've been around the block once or twice. I'm an old guy. I've faced a lot more than you guys can bring over a YouTube channel. So, you know, I always have this weird feeling when people say, "Oh, they bullied him off of Twitter, and you know he was getting railed on YouTube, and people were dragging him on Twitter, and blah 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 blah." It's like, yeah, that wouldn't even bother me. Go to town, man. Call me all the names you want. I'll retweet some of them if they're funny. You know, not going to bother me in the least. I might find some comedy in them. So I think after a while, people who end up being like that, and you see people like Lauren Chen and Sargon, who are pretty bulletproof. People don't engage them because they know they can't hurt them. You know, so that's once you get to the point where people are like, well, there's nothing I can do to mess with his head. It's not fun anymore. Now I'm going to have to rely on my facts, and I have to know what I'm talking about. And I don't really get into a conversation unless I have a good idea of what I'm talking about. So you have to be pretty good to get one past me. Anyway, enough bragging for one night. I am so great. Did we cover everything? Is Jen, are you still awake?
Yeah, I'm still here. I am fading a little bit, but
I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's not your fault.
We went over an hour and a half.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, that's is that the longest we've ever gone? I think it's the longest we've ever gone. We'll get out of here.
Yeah, by 8 minutes. It's not a big deal though.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's fine. We'll go ahead and close things down.
Later, guys. Sorry, I have early morning shifts.
Yeah.
I must wake up to 2:30 in the morning.
Thanks as always to chat for hanging out with us tonight and chatting with us, and Keywordam in particular for taking care of the bots showing up and giving us a hard time. If you're looking for more of the zoo, our Discord is linked in the description down below, and we are live every evening with most shows starting at 11:30 p.m. Eastern, 7 days a week. Quizzes on Monday starting at 8. Skep's on Tuesday. Of course, our Wednesday show is at 9 o'clock. Johnny, tomorrow night is at 9, or at 11:30. Skep Tock on Friday. I think he's still subbing in for Sanguine. I'm not sure. Sanguine might be back. I think it was only for 2 weeks that he was out. Harry Channel, of course, on Saturday. And I think Delahazed is back in on Sunday nights again. But if not, Poppy will be taking care of the stream. We will be back next Wednesday at 9 p.m. as usual. I hope you guys enjoy.
It'll be the new year.
And it will be a new year when we're back. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we'll see you again next year. Have a great night, everybody.
Yeah.
And if I don't talk to you folks at someplace somewhere else, Happy New Year's. Yeah.